Hello. Thank you. Thank you for clicking on my video and choosing to stick along. Hopefully, you'll stick along for this video talking primarily about uncertainty and touching on basis of talk that I actually kind of have prior in my channel here about dealing with, the existential crisis, which happens. I mean, it happens, there's the typical, oh, I'm 50 years old and going through my life crisis, or there's the quarter life crisis. I like to say there's even, I don't know, an eighth life crisis now. Like, crises happen all the time, and that is, I think, a unique human experience. So if you're going through one, like, don't be so weirded out, or if you haven't, don't be weirded out when you do, because they just happen. They just happen. But in my last video, scrolling through this paper right in front of me here, talked a lot about what's his name, Kierkegaard, and the aesthetic man and the ethical man, and the difference between the archetypical kind of characters that he drew about in his book, in his writing. And that kind of helps set the stage for our understanding of how to deal with the world. Though I do have my own blog, and I'll post it down below if you want to read what I'm reading off of. But I have this kind of just little tidbits that I want to pull from to kind of like pull apart more strings of this existential crisis to aid in the understanding of how to combat it. Because believe it or not, you can combat your crises. The crises don't just fall and crumble into some neurotic down loopholes where you never endingly get stuck into this constant sway of destruction. You do actually find a way to deal with yourself and with life in a way that maybe perhaps you couldn't even dream of because you didn't think was possible. And for me, my transformation of coming out of these lower states or my crises was perspective and words, and precisely writing for me. And on this blog post that I made here on my website, the initial title of the entire talk was, "It is not," and I quote, "it is not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves." End of quote. By Edmund Hillary. And I start out this whole thing, I like that quote, but we start out this whole thing with, and I'm going to read, "The biggest problem we will always have in our life is ourselves. How we deal with ourselves, how we treat ourselves, how we use ourselves, most importantly, how we think about ourselves." And now I'm going to reference back to Kierkegaard and what I wrote beforehand here. Just allow me 1 second. I read off my computer here, but now on paper. Existence stems from knowing who you are. Getting lost means drifting from knowing of who you are. Learning more about the world has the same effect. The truth is that it'll never be easy to know all of the world without a crisis of information. Lost in the possibilities, one could say. Existence it doesn't have much knowing. Existence has too much knowing around it. Being yourself does not. You try to act the same way about existence, and then suddenly you do not need to know so many things. You let go. I say you're letting go almost, but that's the end of that. You pretty much let go. And just hear the contrast in those perspectives, the contrasting perspective of letting go and only needing to know yourself to escape the crises. And then on my blog post, just quickly going back, the biggest problem in life is that it's ourselves, how we deal with ourselves, how we treat ourselves, how we use ourselves, and how we think about ourselves. And when you think about existence in the way in which is related only to you, then you almost gain your own self agency of escaping, maybe not perhaps life, but perhaps from the crises in which you've buried yourself within. Because knowing yourself is the simple act of not trying to understand the whole world, but understanding your body, understanding your interests, understanding, how your muscles actually flex and move and stretch, and how your breath is your quality of your breaths when you're mad, upset, angry, hungry. Your thoughts, your thoughts are really the sum of all the thoughts that you've had before and the ones that you will choose to continually cultivate with your time. Life is truly, almost in this sense, your creation, because creation is dictated by almost pretty much yourself. And you only have to really create for yourself. You don't have to speak in a microphone like me and create for other people. At the bare necessity of the world, you just enjoy the sun as it's in the air and then try to find shelter when it's cold at night because there's not so much heat. When you reduce the world from the extreme complexity in which it is now and bring it back to almost the more primal, fundamental, basics, then you can kind of appreciate the world in which we have now, because you realize we have more than we actually need, and letting go of the more to try to be the more, but to be the less almost becomes more. And for me, piecing those bridges, those, the multitude of information together, like that's what brought me the own inner, let's say, power almost, because it pretty much was a power to choose not to exist in a world of crises, but to exist in a world where I freed myself day by day by day by day by choosing literally practices, because I like doing practices, just daily methods, daily rituals in order to extract me from the depths of my crises. And look at me now. I get to talk in the microphone and help other people out. That's what I feel like is, good. And I hope that what I said is good, that you gain some clarity, maybe some new perspective on just what existential crisis is for, others, and also how to help someone out with theirs, and how to ultimately help yourself from not escaping or not going into the black hole, because I imagine like a black hole existential crises, and not getting sucked in the black hole of having to, be in whatever, let's say, drama that drags you down that hole. Because at the end of the day, you want to be, you almost are at the beginning of the day, free. It's just that perspective. And the perspective shifted, which I hope they did shift, changes everything. So if I can say one thing that you can keep for the days and the days next, is that continually trying to shift your perspective of life will open yourself up to more life. But understanding that all perspective happens from within you is realizing that you are the authority and the agency of the whole entire world, essentially. So just knowing yourself is the core, the component of learning how to exist in the world. Forget about everything else, just focus on you, and then everything else will come from you. That's what I'm going. That's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you. It was a pleasure to talk. I hope to talk more again. Maybe I can get more of a slower style kind of like video of actual more like back to Kierkegaard, kind of like readings. But hopefully the style, hopefully everything flowed well within your brain. Comment down below if you liked or disliked, and subscribe if you're really a willing participant in listening to me for many, many days. I don't know if you want that, but have a good day, a good rest of your day, good night. Just have a good life for wherever you are. Bye.